So I'm going to level with you. I'm not generally speaking the biggest fan of plunge-operated button locks. I find that the action is mushy. And with the recent advent of the button-operated compression locks and liner locks becoming more prevalent, it just seems like they've been getting phased out. At least in my collection, I haven't been keeping them around. Until today. Because in my hands today is a brand new offering from our friends over at Canadian Made Blade. They sent a new knife my way, and today we're going to talk about it. Let's go ahead and get into the brand new Predator V3. Hey, how's it going, everybody? If you're new here, welcome in. And if you've been here before, smash the like button on the way in. I'm Rollshambo, the connoisseur and collector of all things sharp and shiny. And today, I'm excited because we've got our very first CMB knife on the table. I've been wanting to check out a Canadian made blade knife for a while, and so when they reached out to me to see if I would be interested in offering some feedback on their latest variant of the Predator, a knife which has been massively popular for them, I had to say yes. I had to say yes, despite the fact that for the last year or so, I have specifically avoided button plunge lock designs like the plague. And here's the deal. The reason for me deciding to take a break from button lock knives, because for a minute there, it seemed like every single knife company was just pumping out button plunge lock design after button plunge lock design. And you couldn't escape them. They were everywhere and they were flooding the market. And many of them just weren't that good. And I started to get bored with that locking mechanism. So I stepped away from them, thinking to myself, maybe it's time for a new era. Maybe it's time for a new knife lock to take the main stage. And then we started seeing more button operated frame locks and liner locks and top liner locks and so on and so forth. But Canadian Made Blade has done something really well here. They have really done a great job of creating a button plunge lock knife that is not boring. It does not have a mushy action, and is actually rather well made, and you absolutely have to give them credit for that. But we're going to get to that here in a minute. In the meantime, you might be wondering, well, what is it exactly? What's the damage? What does it cost? These are on sale right now for $49, and some variants of this are even less, say like $47. There's a Stormtrooper variant that looks absolutely awesome, and that's around $47. Right now, there's a sale on the CMB website. I'll make sure to link to it down in the description down below. What we have here is a knife that comes in at about 7.8 inches overall with a 3.4 inch blade. You can get this in satin or stonewash or a PVD stonewash, which is what this is. Really, really quality work on that PVD stonewash, by the way. Very much enjoying that. We've got a double-sided thumb stud for deployment and micarta handle scales. It also has a matching micarta backspacer with a hidden lanyard post if that's your thing. The pocket clip is stamped steel and it is deep carry. We've got a T8 pivot, T6 body screws, reversible pocket clip. Did I mention that? Yeah. And it is a button plunge lock. Now, one of the reasons why I fell out of love with button plunge locks was I got really tired of the mushy action. Like, yes, there were some out there that had a very strong simulated detent, and you just you break through it and bam, they would fire out, and then your tip of your thumb would get tired, and after a minute you just be like, you know what, hand me a frame lock. It seemed like companies were not all that interested in figuring out the secret sauce to making a good simulated detent on a button plunge lock. And what I mean by simulated detent is that because this is a plunge lock, there is no detent ball that rides along the blade and creates a crisp action, right? Because with a regular detent, what you have is you build up pressure and then you break through the detent and it flicks open. That is not the case with this. While there is no detent ball on this knife, they have done a phenomenal job of tuning that plunge lock so that it has good lockup and, honestly, a detent which is better than most button operated liner and frame locks that I've encountered. It is stiff, but it's not so stiff where you're going to get uncomfortable deploying it. It's very, very easy to deploy, but you don't necessarily feel like you're missing a traditional detent when you go to deploy this. The thumb flick is perfection. And of course, the reverse flick is not too shabby either. But to stop there, to stop at the action or the simulated detent would do this knife no favors, because there's a lot going on here that you might miss. First of all, these micarta handle scales are really, really comfortable. I would actually say that they are hand meltingly good. It's exceedingly comfortable in the hand. I'm not the biggest fan of stamped pocket clips in general, but I'm not going to complain about it on a $50 knife, because that is kind of the par for the course on a $50 knife. But what I do look for, especially at this price range, is to make sure that the clip doesn't just function well, but that it doesn't get in the way of the ergos, and it disappears in the hand very well. This is a knife that feels great in a reverse grip, and that's awesome. It's got a decent amount of belly here, but it's not outlandish. The tip is below the pivot point, so this is technically what I would classify as a drop point or as a spear point. Feel free to argue that in the comment section down below. I'll leave that up to you guys. Is it a drop point or is it a spear point? Yeah, I might call it a spear point. Yeah. The steel is 14C, and they tell you quite plainly that they target a range of 58 to 62. That is the standard range for 14C. That is the range that 95% of companies do, and I'm a-okay with that, especially at the $49 price point. This is a knife that is going to be perfect for someone who wants to have a knife that they can take to work, a knife that is not going to rust on them. 14C is incredibly strong and incredibly corrosion resistant. It is in fact one of the most corrosion resistant steels out there, rivaling the likes of Van Ack Super Clean and M390. It's going to be very similar to LC200N, which is to say that this knife steel is very tough and very corrosion resistant. And that's great, because that means that you can take this edge bevel down to a super thin slicey edge and really lean on that edge geometry to get the work done. Yeah, look at that. Look at how thin that is. They did a fantastic job on that edge geometry, and it is nice and sticky. You could, in fact, lay this back even farther if you want to take this to the next level, but that is entirely up to you. We have some decently done jimping here on the spine of the blade. In a natural grip, your thumb rides up on the spine and has plenty of purchase there. This feels really good. Again, I think that this would be perfect for the person that wants a no-nonsense but still fun to carry EDC knife that is going to wear in over time, is going to provide adequate action, and it's going to be a good option for those of you who are looking to get someone else into the knife collecting hobby. I wish that the first time I had really started to dig into knives as a collector and an enthusiast, instead of just someone that liked to carry them for utility purpose, I wish they got me a knife like this, because this is so much better than the knife that I first got with a gift card back in 2020 during COVID lockdown, when I decided to look up knife reviews and see what people were saying. This is leagues better than that, and it's also less expensive too. That's absolutely crazy to me, the level of quality that we have shown here, because the ergos are good, the pocket clip is good, the action for a button plunge lock is exceptional. Again, I know people might already be running to the comment section to say, whoa, I want a button operated liner lock, or I want a button operated frame lock. I'm here to tell you that if part of that reason is because, like me, you just got tired of button plunge locks feeling mushy, this knife feels crisp. That is an exceedingly satisfying action. I'm really, really enjoying that. And when you add in the fact that it is only $49 and you get a really good carry EDC out of it, I don't know who could complain about this knife. Things that matter on a button plunge lock knife. How's the lockup? Lockup is solid. There is no wiggle or jiggle. What about detent lash? That can sometimes be an issue with button plunge locks. There is none. It is sucked in there, and it feels like it's being held in place by a regular detent, even though it doesn't have one. They did a fantastic job making sure that this knife was well done and a true version 3 of an already popular model. They could have mailed it in. They could have just done the same thing as before and gone with a crossbar style lock as they did with the prior version. But that being said, given its prior popularity and how much people tend to like the Predator from CMB, I would love to see this in a premium variant. I would love to see this with carbon fiber scales and say M390 or LMAX or some other premium steel. Maybe S90V would be cool. Which steel would you like to see this in a premium version? Do you agree with me? Do you think S90V would be a good play? I think so. And if you could have chosen a different knife lock for the Predator, which one would you have chosen? Are you willing to give this button plunge lock a shot, or is it a straight no for you? Let me know in the comment section down below, guys. This is the CMB Predator V3 button plunge lock with excellent carry materials, and it's on sale for $49. If you liked the video, please make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so yet. And of course, if you just want to watch some more awesome knife and EDC content, go ahead and click on one of the videos that pops up next.